40 stories, 12 terrorists, 1 cop. It's gonna be a long night. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. and welcome to another classic movie review. It is Christmas Eve, and so I'm talking about a movie that takes place on Christmas Eve. One of my all-time favorite Christmas classics that I watch every year. I'm sure as many people do all around the world. 1988's Die Hard, the movie that made Bruce Willis an action star. Bruce Willis has been in a lot of movies. Some of those are great movies. Movies like Pulp Fiction, Unbreakable, 12 Monkeys. But when I think of Bruce Willis in like his quintessential role, I tend to think of 1988's Die Hard, as I'm sure a lot of people that grew up with Bruce Willis will think of Die Hard as like their top Bruce Willis flick. But a lot of people, I think, forget that the guy goes back all the way to the mid-80s. Back in 85 to 89, he starred in a little show called Moonlighting as David Addison for ABC. And back then, a lot of people, I think, had a hard time trying to see this guy actually transition from TV star to this movie star. At the beginning of the movie, we see McClane take a little cab ride from the airport to the building where his wife works, an office building known as the Nakatomi Corporation. They're having a little Christmas party on the 30th floor. Everybody's having a good time. John shows up. She seems a little surprised but happy to see him. There's a guy there, kind of a douche that she works with, that has kind of a thing for her, and you can see he's kind of a cokehead when we see him at the very beginning trying to brush off some coke off the desk when John walks in, catches him off guard. Although he seems happy to see her for the first time in a while, Willis's character John has a little bit of a frustration with his wife using her maiden name at her new job and not her married name, his last name, and so they have a little bit of a tiff about that, and they get off to a bad start. She goes away to do a little speech for everybody that she works with, and he's left alone for a little bit to make fists with his toes, something that you got to see the beginning of the movie to get what I'm talking about. When we got our terrorists show up, Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman, one of the all-time great badass movie villains. Even though this movie came out back in 1988, the action in the film still looks great, still holds up, still blows you to the back wall of the theater. And I can say that because I recently saw this at a screening here in the city where I live at a very old-timey theater. It was really great to watch this movie with an audience because watching it, I had some kind of an idea of what audiences went through back when first watching this back in 88, because there was a guy that was kind of emceeing this thing at the very beginning of the show, and he says, how many people have seen this? Raise your hand. A lot of people raised their hands that hadn't seen it, and so it was really cool to see people's reactions to certain scenes, especially certain really kick-ass moments or certain moments where shit gets real. Like there's a moment where the boss, Holly's boss, is being interrogated and questioned by Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, and there is a moment in that scene where things get real fast, and so there was a wave that came across the audience in that moment that let us all realize, holy crap, all right, we're in it now. And it was kind of a collective kind of a feeling that you get, the kind of experience you only get in a theater. There are many exciting and suspenseful moments where it looks like the bad guys have John McClane in a corner and they're about to get him, but he always manages to slip away in the most intense ways and always has a quick one-liner for the bad guys every now and then after a kill. Sometimes John McClane is in a real tight spot, literally. Like there's one scene where he's in an air vent and he's going through the vent slowly, kind of trying to shimmy through the vent, and a bad guy starts shooting at the vent, and he kind of stops, and the guy starts poking the vent with his machine gun, and it's like poking up a bit, poking the metal, and Willis has his gun, McClane has his gun pointed down right through the vent, waiting to cap this guy. And it's a very intense moments, and watching that in the theater was so much fun to watch with the crowd, because even though I had seen the movie, you can still feel the tension as that scene builds. When you get to the third act of the movie, the action slows down a little bit to have a little bit of negotiating time between the police and the terrorists in the building, but we get some nice little comedic relief moments every now and then to kind of break the tension between certain action sequences and the set pieces involving shootouts and big explosions. There's some nice moments with Reginald VelJohnson's character, Sergeant Al Powell, who shows up at the scene, has a little bit of a interaction with a dead body that's thrown out of a building. Die Hard has an excellent music score. The score for this movie was done by the late, great Michael Kamen, who also scored music for movies like Lethal Weapon and those sequels, and also scored the music for the 2 Die Hard sequels after this. Also did the music for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Bryan Singer's X-Men in 2000. And yeah, the music is great. The movie also looks great. It was shot by Jan de Bont, who went on to direct Speed and Twister. The special effects in this movie, in terms of the explosions and the optical effects, still look really good and hold up very well. We have Richard Edlund to thank for that. He worked on movies like Star Wars and also worked on Ghostbusters and The Monster Squad, among many other classics. I don't care what anybody says, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Always has been, always will be. Here are the facts. The film takes place on Christmas Eve during a Christmas party. At the very beginning of the film, during the opening credits, we hear a Christmas song. We hear Run DMC's Hollis Queens. Throughout the film, there are all kinds of references to little things that evoke Christmas. You hear a Santa reference, you hear a Frosty the Snowman reference. John McClaine writes ho 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 on a bad guy's sweater after he kills him and delivers the body to the terrorist with a Santa hat on the guy's head. You see Christmas decorations throughout the office. One of the bad guys begins to do his own kind of recital of The Night Before Christmas in his own way. At the very end of the film, when the closing credits happen, you end with a Christmas song with Let It Snow. And so, yeah, they're all little things, but they all make up the big picture of an action Christmas movie. A movie that still holds up beautifully and has kind of an Irwin Allen disaster movie vibe at times, with the destruction of the building towards the third act of the film. 1988's Die Hard is a 4-star action film with great sequences, great characters, great moments, a great score, and a movie that you will want to rewatch and revisit, not just throughout the year, but definitely during the holiday season. I'm sure you can find this movie on streaming, but you know me, I'm a hard copy kind of guy, so you know I'm going to have my copy of this baby. And here it is, Die Hard on Blu-ray. As an action movie fan, you gotta be grateful for Die Hard, because had it not been for Die Hard, you might not have had movies like Under Siege or Passenger 57 or Air Force One or Cliffhanger. Die Hard just rules. It's still awesome. It's still one of my all-time favorite flicks and a movie that I will keep revisiting. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into the classics, if you're into movies, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on more reviews coming your way. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for all your support, and hope you all have a happy and safe holiday and a Merry Christmas. Thank you all for watching. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.